So now that we have learned about a lot of string and list methods, let's put them to use by writing a little program. So in this program, so let's create a file first and then I'll explain. So this is this count file types .py. Let's name it like that. Okay, count file types.py. What this program does is count the number of a given file type in a directory, in a folder. By the way, folders are also called directory in programming lingo. So I just add that because we are not going to use iteration for this. And by the way, this is not the most precise method of doing this. There can be small errors if you do it like that. We will learn of a much better method of doing this later on, but for that we need to use iteration. We need to use a for loop, but we have not learned loops yet, but we can do a reasonably good job without actually looping. So for this we actually first have to import a new package, which is OS. We have done that before, and remember we were getting the list of all files at one point in a previous video. So we will do the same thing here. So we will save that as file list. File list is equal to ol.list dir, and here you have to put where do you want to look. And so what I will do now for now is give the location to C Windows System 32. And if you're on Windows, this is actually a Windows directory. You can look here. So C Windows and System 32. So this is actually this has a lot of Windows core programs in it. This is a very important system level directory. We are not going to modify anything here. We are free to look. So we can count how many. So we'll try to count how many DLL and how many exe files are here. If you look here, you can see, I mean, apart from the folders, there are tons of exes and DLL files and whatnot. There are a few PNGs even. So there are a lot of it, and we will try to count that. And it's going to be interesting. So we generate a file list first, and now for a moment I will show you what this. So this gives us a large list. So if we go to command prompt and type it out, you can see what that does. So that of course would not work. Let's go into Python first, then do that. Okay, I have to import. That would not work because I have not imported OS yet. So import OS and then do that. And now if I type file list, you can see this is a large list because there is a lot of files and folders in that directory. It's a crazy amount. By the way, do not do this inside idle, because idle would not be able to handle that many that long of a list. It cannot print. It is not very happy to print such a long string, and it kind of hangs. So don't do that. I do not recommend it. But inside the command line, inside the Windows command prompt, you can easily do it. That's not a problem. So now how do we go about counting this? I mean, so let's think about this. We can, of course, the easiest or the most used approach is to iterate over all of the elements of this list. So we'll check each element of this list one by one and see if it is a particular file type, and if it is, then we can count it and whatnot. But we have not learned about iteration yet. We have not learned about that yet. So we'll use a different technique. What we would do is we would convert this list to a string, to a very long string. And just think about for a moment what would happen if we do that. We will, so looking at here, we will have this, and then immediately we will have this, and then immediately we will have this. So if we do this, so if we say file list dot, sorry, so we will say dot empty dot join, and then pass in file list. So if you have seen the previous video, then this is very clear to you. If we join it by a space, then there will be a lot of space in the middle. If we join it, so if we do this, let's say we get all the files that are there. So windows.devices.custom.dll, that's one file. Then windows.devices.custom.ps.dll, that's one file. But if we join it without a space, then this will give us a very long string. And now what we can do is we can count how many times, let's say, .dll appears in this very long string, and that will give us how many DLL files are there in that directory, right? So we will say long str dot count, and let's count how many DLL files are there. So .dll, 2005 DLL files. How many .exe files are there? 302. How many .png files are there? 9. Okay, so that gives you an idea. So now that we have seen it, let's just write those lines here, and then we will run it just in as many times as we want. So we generate the file list, and now we have to join it. So empty dot join, and then we pass in the file list, and that we have to save in a string, and then we have to count. So we can actually do this, count.dll. So instead of saving it and then saying long str.count, we can directly daisy chain this new method with the earlier object. But I will not do that because that makes it a little bit confusing. So let's keep it simple and create a new variable called long string, and now we have joined all of the file names into a very long string, and then we can do long str dot count. And what I would like to do is this, I would like this to be interactive. So I would like the user to specify what kind of file they want to count. So input, we call it query again. What type of file would you like to count? Question mark. And space, and then so the user will maybe say DLL. So what we will do, what we can do is choose to append a dot at the end, at the beginning of whatever the user inputs. This is optional, but I'll just show it to you quickly. So what we can do, so what do we do to append something at the beginning of the list? We can use insert, or we can just use just the plus sign. So we can do this two ways. So we can say query is equals to dot plus query. That would work. Another approach would be to say query dot insert 0 dot. That will also work, but what we'll do here is we'll choose to will while giving the input we'll include the dot, so we'll basically say dot dll or dot exe, so that we don't have to do that. We can do it, but as I showed you, but we are not going to do this here. So long str.count, and we will put in this query here. Okay, that is a string, so that is fine, and then we will print it out. So let's say this, let's call this count, and then we'll print it out. So we'll use the format function once again. So we'll print the file type placeholder occurs placeholder times in the system32 folder. Okay, and dot format, we have to give the two things that, so type of file query and count, right? Okay, so let's see if this works. So we save that, and we, okay, this is a big mess now, so let's clean. Okay, let's first exit out of here. We clean that, and we are inside the Python basics folder already, so we just have to say python count. Let's see if that works. Yes, what type of file would you like to count? Let's say .dll, and the file type DLL occurs 2005 times in the system32 folder. Yay, works. So now you can run this program again and again, and you can basically have to include the dot, don't forget that, but you can basically run it again and again and see what kind of, let's see if there is any Python folder. So there are no actually Python files, interestingly. Most of them are DLL files actually. I think there are some icon files. There is only one icon file apparently. So you can have some fun with this and try to see what kind of, are there any database files? No, there are not any DB files. There, I saw some NCS files. Let's see, not that. NCS. Was that small? Okay, no, that is something else. I saw there are some weird file types here, OCX and all that. Yeah, there are some. So DRV is a Windows driver file. So we'll run that again, and let's check how many .drv files are there. There are some 3 DRV files. So you can check this, and this can be generalized to check for within any folder that you want. Basically just change this to wherever you want this program to point to, and you can basically query what kind of file and what type of file is there and whatnot. So this method is not very precise. If the file name itself contains a .dll, for example, and it can, and it is not at the end, then this will pick it up, and that will be a mistake as such. There are better ways of doing this, and when we learn about iteration, we will learn of them. But for now, this gives you an interesting example which uses many of the techniques that we have learned throughout the last few videos.